What is your name? Terry, nice to meet you, Terry. And did you have a job during COVID? You did not. Oh, so it wasn't a real ballsy stance. You still mooching off your girlfriend? Is this your girlfriend? No, that's just your friend you're trying to bang later? It's none of my business. None of my business. I'm sure you're just pals.
Congresswoman Pelosi, are you at all concerned that the new January 6th committee will find you liable for that day? Are you at all concerned about the new January 6th committee finding you liable for that day? Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
The American people want to know. We still have questions. Thank you.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
That is not a question of how they had been. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
Congresswoman Pelosi, are you at all concerned that the new January 6th committee will find you liable for that day? Are you at all concerned about the new January 6th committee finding you liable for that day? Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
The American people want to know. We still have questions.
I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes. Trump is my favorite president.
Oh, he's not in today?
Oh, we're live, Jimmy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Come to Steph. All right, ladies and gentlemen, camera 4. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show, ladies and gentlemen. We're here. We just want you to remember, resist much, obey a little. Hey, we're going to do a premium streamium today. We'll have something a little new for everybody. And we're going to be doing some merch giveaway today during the premium streamium. What the flip? That is crazy. And now, back to Mr. Jim.
Okay, so TPUSA is flipping out, and everyone sees through them. And Candace Owen has nailed them again. And they've been ignored. You know, Charlie Kirk's whole thing was that, ask me a question, I'll answer it. Ask me anything, I'll answer it. So TPUSA without him is like, we're pretending there are no questions and we're not answering anything. And so it's finally gotten so bad. Now whistleblowers are coming out from inside TPUSA saying their financials are shady. They've got donors problem, all kinds of stuff. And so they finally decided to answer Candace Owens. Candace Owens has a list of 12 lies that she's caught him in already. We've caught him in more. But here, so they invite, so this guy invites, this is Neff. He was a producer of Charlie Kirk's show, and he's now on air all the time. And here's what he said.
We plan to walk through everything carefully and thoroughly. If Candace is available, we would sincerely welcome her participation in that live stream at our studio here in Phoenix. At this point, we believe the ball is back in her court.
So he this is after a list of BS stuff he said about her and called her crazy. Well, if she's so crazy, why would you invite somebody onto your show? Why would you dignify her with a response? It's because she's not crazy and she's on to something, and it's not looking good for them. So they just invited her on her show. Hey, let's go. We're going to go over this. So Candace Owens says this.
Find out. You can pick the place. You can pick the time. I say we do it tomorrow. We don't need to plan for this. We don't need lawyers in between us, lawyer statements. It's not how I roll, okay? I don't care about any of that. I want it to be authentic. Like I said, you can take the money. We can raise money live for this conversation. That is how badly the world is demanding it. So I accept it with whistles and bells, everything. I fully accept. I say, let's do it tomorrow. Let's do it tomorrow. And my only ground rule is no assassinations. Okay? No assassinations, no funny business. You can't pretend you're going to do.
So there she goes. First, he says the ball's in her court, which sounds a little racist. Talking about basketball with a black woman. Is that what? Come on, am I kidding? You mean tennis courts? You guys are so racist. So racist. So she says no assassinations. That's her. That's like cutting the balls off someone who uses their actual balls to do everything. It's just not right. Come on. Assassination is as American as apple pie with a pipe bomb in it. Come on, am I right? So I guess that's not asking too much. Don't shoot me with a deer rifle. But anyway, there she is. So she's like, let's do it anytime, anywhere. Let's do it. So this is what they did. So Blake Neff says the live stream we announced on the show Wednesday has been set. You mean you called Candace Owens and she agreed and you guys got the time down and how long it's going to be and what the ground rules are for the discussion and the debate? No? What? What did you do? At 4 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. local time on Monday, December 15th, a collection of Charlie's friends will respond to statements made by Candace Owens to set the record straight once and for all prior to the opening of America Fest. That's their big thing coming up. We'll be live streaming from Charlie's Phoenix studio. Our offer from yesterday holds. If Candace wishes to join us in person in Phoenix, she is welcome to do so. She can let us know by the end of today. So they put that out at like midnight. I think Candace lives in Tennessee. They put that out in midnight her time. So it was 10:21 anyway, Phoenix time. So Candace responds. She says, kind of weird how you didn't email me or call me to ask about times or availability and chose to instead tweet the confirmation out at midnight. Why am I learning about this on Twitter? December 15th does not work for an in-person and 2 p.m. Pacific because that's her husband's birthday, A. And B, that's the last week she's doing shows before Christmas.
She says, and 2 p.m. is also the literal time I do my podcast live every day, which you knew. But we will happily cancel the daily podcast and we'll join you guys virtually instead for the live stream on the 15th, if that works on your end. Let's lock it in. So just like every news show does these days, they have someone virtually on their show through a live stream, through a Zoom or, Tucker Carlson used to send when he was at Fox, he would send a van to my house, and I would sit in the van, and then we would do it that way. I didn't have to be in Tucker Carlson's studio. So that's everyone knows this is how you do news now, right? So she's saying, okay, I'll do it. You want to do it on that day? At that time, I'll skip my show that day to come on, and we'll do it virtually, okay?
And she said all money can go to TPUSA that day. All the money. She didn't care.
And yeah, it's exactly right. She said that, you can raise money off it to whatever you want to do. And she added, I will also add that I am happy to jump on Charlie Cook's show any day before then, virtually as well. Any day. Any day you want her on, she's willing to come on your show. Any day. I was serious when I said we could do it today even. Virtually, I can make it happen pretty much any day because it's easier to move things around with kids and find someone to sub for my morning homeschooling. So she's saying, I'm available to do it whenever you guys want. But I'll do it virtually, like all news shows do. Okay, so you want to know what happened? People said, hey, so let me just skip. I'm burying it. He comes out and says, yesterday, we made it clear that we would be scheduling a formal response to the allegations and accusations you have made. We decided that response will be delivered during a live stream on December 15th. Thank you for responding, letting us know. Responding, like to a tweet? You mean you didn't send an email to her or a phone call or a text? You just made a tweet on your Twitter page and she's supposed to respond? So she did. She said, thank you for responding, letting us know you will not be joining the in-person conversation. We will be proceeding without you. So they found a way. So here's what I said. Well, I knew you'd pull something, and here it is. I responded to that guy, Blake Neff. Everyone, including you, knows this is not how you book a guest on a show. You're supposed to contact them, find a mutually agreeable date and time. You don't need to publicly announce the date before it's confirmed. It's transparently obvious what you're doing here. But you're all shady as F, including all the pastors you're associated with. Nice ratio, by the way. And why I say nice ratio is because he got ratioed on that tweet, saying to Candace Owens, so if you look at the ratio, he's got 9,000 likes, 13,000 responses. So that's called being ratioed. When you get more responses than likes, that's not a good look. That's called being ratioed. So then I say that back to him. I also ratio him. I got 15,000 likes. I ratioed the F out of him. He comes back to me again, this guy. He says, of course, it's not how you book a guest. We are not booking a guest and never said we were.
What?
We are what? So you're booking a person who's not a guest on your show, but it's not a guest. So you're going to book a news person with the #1 show in the world, and you're going to book that person on your show, but it's not as a guest. So this is how you know these guys are liars. They do stuff like this constantly. We're not booking a guest. Well, that's what a person is who comes on your show. So you're going to play some weird semantics game? When a person comes on your show, that's called a guest on your show. That's called a person who's on your show, a.k.a. a guest on your show. So they go, we are not booking a guest and never said we were. We are delivering a response to several months of escalating harassment and lies. She was given the opportunity to join as a guest. How is she supposed to join you? Not as a guest. I'm here, but I'm not a guest. I'm just a person. You gave her the opportunity to join. She accepted it. You guys declined. She accepted it. She accepted it. And the standard of practice and news organizations from coast to coast over the globe is someone joins you virtually. In fact, the day before yesterday, they had on that, I'm blanking on his name, the head guy they had from TPUSA. It was Alex Colbert. He was on virtually. Just like.
But he wasn't a guest.
But he wasn't a guest. I'm sure he wasn't a guest. So, of course. So, people are sniffing this out. People are sniffing this out. Let's, Mitch says this wasn't an accident. It was a box you in maneuver. Announce a date publicly before confirming, force you to decline, then inevitably act like they tried. Textbook move when you don't actually want to face someone. It definitely feels that way. No other reason not to call us and ask if it works, especially considering they called us multiple times the day before. So this guy says this is cowardice and in person is never going to happen. So he's claiming that Candace Owens is ducking this. No, Graham, cowardice is you cashing checks from PragerU to go after me while pretending this is organic. Influencers taking money to attack people is cowardice. Oh, didn't know he was taking money. Turns out she does. There's another one. They want to create the perception. We tried to answer her questions, but she didn't show up. They treat Charlie's audience like they're stupid. That's why the show is floundering in his wake. It's actually insane they didn't even contact you to work out a time and date. Extremely disingenuous. They extend an offer, you accept, even say you'll do it today. And then they don't even work out a time with you. Sounds more like they want a gotcha moment. Shame. That's exactly right. So, everyone, including you, knows that's how you book a guest. So he says, of course, I say, hey, you're not booking a guest. You're ducking a guest, which is obvious. You doubling down on your transparently shady behavior every time everyone sees through you, which is why you're getting ratioed on your posts. And I ratioed him on that post. He got 3,000. What is that, 9? What is that number?
8.6.
8.6. So, no, you're not booking a guest. You're ducking a guest. We're not booking a guest. We were delivering a response, and she's. So there you go. So time after time, these guys get ratioed after ratio after ratio because they're transparent used car salesmen liars. Here's another one. What did she say? And these are the people defending TPUSA. What did she say? Anytime, anywhere, but now I guess the vibes just doesn't feel right? No, she's still willing to do it. Like a normal person does a show. She's going to do it virtually. They do that all the time. Every show does that. Piers Morgan, his whole show is people coming in virtually. So don't act like she's ducking it. She's not. The people ducking it are TPUSA. She's 100% willing to join them over Zoom or StreamYard or whatever, just like every other news show does. This is weak sauce. So just to let you know who Blake Neff is, he was the head writer for Tucker Carlson, and he was forced to resign after years of posting vile racist comments under a pseudonym, Charles the 13th. Is that what that is? A nod to a celibate king of Sweden. And for cyber stalking women. And I'm like, could that be true? So H Banana says the same thing. Grok, is that true? Grok says yes. The claims are accurate. Blake Neff resigned as head writer for Tucker Carlson's show in July of 2020 after CNN revealed his racist and sexist post under the pseudonym Charles the 13th on Auto Admit.
Charles the 12th.
Is that the 12th? Charles the 12th. And Auto Admit, including threads that harassed and mocked specific women. So that's real.
He sounds like a solid guy.
So he sounds like a solid guy.
Can I
Sounds
see
like a
that
solid
photo
guy.
again?
But a random jagoff comedian you want to see the photo of
Yeah.
him again? There he is. So a random jagoff comedian can easily ratio that guy over his lies. Obvious duplicity, obvious lying about inviting. We're not booking a guest. You're booking a person. So that's not how you book a person. So just here's what Candace Owens also has to say.
We should recap very quickly.
So you want to know all the lies so this is here's just a recap of some of the lies that Candace Owens has caught them in. Here you go.
The verifiable lies that we have thus far been told by Turning Point USA themselves, which apparently they're trying to say it's off limits. So now you can't call out all these lies that Turning Point USA has told you. This is what they're trying to struggle session us into because Erica Kirk is now the CEO, so they're off limits. So they're allowed to lie. No, that's ridiculous. We will not be following that. Here's our list, and this is by no means definitive, okay? Just getting this together briefly. They told us these lies. The amazing, heroic, magnificent Mikey McCoy had blood all over him. That's a lie, told by Pastor Rob McCoy. Charlie was a committed evangelical who only liked Catholic architecture. That's a lie, told and reinforced by Alex Clark and Andrew Colvett. Lie number 3 is that Charlie's neck stopped a .30-06 bullet because Charlie ate salad, he had strong bones, it was a modern-day Christian miracle. That's a lie. The offender is Andrew Colvett. Another lie, Charlie never blinked in his support for Israel. Offender Josh Hammer, Bibi Netanyahu, insert Zionist here, many Zionist, Christian Zionist influencers as well. That turned out to be a big lie, an unnecessary lie. Lie number 5, the magnificent Mikey McCoy called his dad first. That's a lie. Rob McCoy told that lie. Number 6 is Terrell, the AV guy, was told to remove the cameras by police. That's not true. I have every second of his moves. That offender would be Tyler Boyer, okay? He lied.
So Tyler Boyer was the COO of Turning Points USA, and he's also involved in a lot of shady financial deals that Charlie was going to look into. So Charlie caught on to these financial deals. Tyler Boyer's at the center of most of them. And so that's who he is. Okay. And they lied about the cops told us to take those. The cops didn't tell you. Then they changed their, there you go.
Number 7, Terrell moved the SD cards because people were stealing hats. Question mark, Andrew Colvett, what if you were scared about people stealing? Maybe remove the cameras?
Yeah, so if you're afraid of people stealing, you wouldn't just go up and take the SD card out of the camera because the camera is so expensive. You would take the camera. No one's going to jump in there and steal the SD card. They're going to steal the camera. So again, these guys are amateurs, which is why they're lying left and right and getting caught in it. And the biggest lie she doesn't even mention, but I'll give you that in a second.
Very expensive cameras would be the thing that they would steal. What are they going to do with your SD card? They're going to resell that? Like, that doesn't make sense. Those are pretty cheap, right? Lie number 8, Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk never had any bad blood between them. The offender there was Alex Clark. Ben Shapiro was on her show, and I don't know why she tried that little bit of propaganda when she knew that wasn't factually true. 9, Charlie established Doge, and that wasn't unusual. Turning Point financially audits the company every year since its inception. Lie. Doge was entirely different from the apparatus of financially auditing yourself, which is recommended and actually in some states required for a company that size. That's 501c3. And 10, like I said, this is by no means a definitive list. Mikey McCoy was a hero that day. Now, you could say that's subjective, but I feel like that, like, objectively, to be a hero, you can't just make quick phone calls. I don't know. I not include 911 in that list. So
the thing she didn't even mention there was how Tyler's security team got caught lying about drone coverage. She didn't mention that, right? The drone coverage? She didn't mention that. So they said that they weren't allowed to fly a drone over the event. They said they weren't allowed to. That the head of his security team went on that CIA guy's podcast. I'm blanking on that guy's name. what's that CIA guy's name? If Kurt was here, he would know. But anyway, he went on there and said we weren't allowed to fly a drone. Well, we have Frank Turek on video saying, yes, we were flying drones over and we were looking at pictures.
Is
videos.
it Sean Ryan?
Sean Ryan, CIA show, the ex-CIA, Sean Ryan's podcast, which all of a sudden became a #1 show out of nowhere. But anyway, that had a Charlie security said we weren't allowed to. But then we have Frank Turek saying, yes, we had drones over there. We were looking at video of them in real time. So to me, that's the killer of the of all lies. There's lots of lies. How about the one where Mikey McCoy's dad, Rob McCoy, the pastor, says he was covered in blood, and then he immediately started directing. He got his wits about. He wasn't directing anything. He was 100 miles away. He had walked away. He was a dot in the video. That's how far away he was from the crime scene. He wasn't directing anything. Charlie's body was in and gone before he ever stopped walking away. He didn't do anything. So there's so many lies. TPUSA is so over. Candace Owens, now they're ducking Candace Owens. They won't, of course they're ducking her. Of course they're ducking her. If you had the truth on your side, you'd go on her show. Not only that, you'd make every accommodation you could to get her on your show. Everyone. If you have truth on your side.
No, she's not doing it our way. She can't do it.
She's not going to do it this time and at this exact time. She's not going to be here in person at this exact time, and then that's that. We tried. Okay, I got you. So everybody sees through TPUSA now, if you want to, or unless you're being paid, or if you're inside some kind of money scam. Everybody else sees right through you. Everybody else. Okay, over to Steph.
Okay, Jim. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Nujoma. Hey, Nujoma, what I would share with you is that Jimmy Dore's clips are available on Rumble and Rockfin and YouTube at your leisure. No need to sweat it out and be upset and get your bush in a knot over Jimmy not being on time. Come on.
Oh, people are upset that I'm late today?
Nujoma was like...
Sorry, Nujoma.
I keep people waiting. That's life. That's it. But you don't have to wait. That's why I was telling Nujoma, just go to YouTube or Rumble and your clips are flying there any time of day. No need to wait. Clicked on Rumble during pre-show. Did not expect to see a recruitment ad for ICE. How wild. LOL. No kidding. That is pretty wild. Did you think to apply? ICE.
Okay.
All right, back to Mr. Jim.
So now there are a couple of whistleblowers that are coming forward inside TPUSA to tell you, yes, there were some real shady people surrounding Charlie, and they have a lot of financial crimes to cover up.
My name is Joshua Peterson. I worked for Turning Point USA and Turning Point USA Fate, and I knew Charlie Kirk personally. I want to say on the record that there was a inner circle at Turning Point USA that was constantly working against Charlie and his interests and what he wanted to do, as well as there was a Jewish influence in Turning Point that he was not very fond of, that he wanted to get rid of. He tried doing this, he tried creating a Doge department, and he gets assassinated. Another thing that makes me believe this inner circle was constantly working against Charlie was because of the fact that he had a whole entire branch of Turning Point that he had no idea about, and that was the stock market branch. Now, the thing about this branch is it's been getting millions of dollars poured into it over the past 4 years now, and that's been seen through their latest tax returns, which were also filed late, which was weird, but that's not a topic for another time. This stock market group that Turning Point has been throwing millions of dollars into the stock market for the past 4 years now, and Charlie Kirk had no knowledge of that whatsoever. Now, if you also look into it a little bit deeper, if you look at the staff on that branch specifically, it says 0. It says there's nobody employed in that branch, yet they're pouring $5 million into funds for employees. Make it make sense. That sounds like money laundering to me. It sounds like there's some pyramid scheme going on behind the scenes at Turning Point that Charlie did not know about originally, and I think that he was planning to expose that, and that's ultimately what got him killed. A lot of people are asking, did you really work for Turning Point USA? And yes, I did. I'll tag some photos in the next clip just to show you guys that I did work for them.
Okay, there you go. There's one. Here's another one.
I'm just going to say what I have to say, and if it lands in the right hands, whatever. My name is Amanda. I've tried to record this like 7 times, and it's just not working, so I'm just going to say what I have to say, and if it lands in the right hands, whatever. My name is Amanda. I worked for Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk for 4 years. One of those years, I was a donor relations officer in Phoenix, Arizona, and that means is I worked with all the donors within a certain region for all of Turning Point's assets. So Turning Point Action, Turning Point Academy, Turning Point USA, Faith, Blexit, podcasting, everything. When I saw Candace Owens' comment this morning, granted, I am not a Candace Owens fan, personally. And that comment, I felt like I had to say something. What I did for Turning Point USA within that department was some of the most... I can't even begin to describe it, because the people that I felt like I was working for were not... They were horrible. I mean, like, it was just some of the worst times ever. And I was working for such an amazing, brilliant idea of an organization, and to see it for what it really was behind the scenes, and what makes it Turning Point, which is money. I mean, I'm sorry, but it is. That's how it works in the nonprofit world. It took me so much towards the end not to tell donors to take their money elsewhere.
Okay. And did I cut her off at the end?
Sounded, but
did you have more to say? So here's Candace Owens. I received information last night that put the final pieces together for me. I can now say with full confidence that I believe Charlie Kirk was betrayed by the leadership of Turning Point USA and some of the very people who eulogized him on stage. Yes, I will be naming names and providing evidence for my claims, and I'm making a personal plea to every well-meaning person who donated to this godforsaken organization to request a refund. You were lied to, and leadership knew. So that's, I think, the tweet she was responding to. And there you go. There was a lot of rotten people around Charlie, and the whistleblowers are coming forward. And TPUSA, the people who are there now, cannot stop gaslighting, non-stop gaslighting. They just got caught ducking having Candace Owens on their show after they famously invited her on their show, and now they won't invite her on. Now she's not a guest. We're not inviting a guest. So it's amazing, but there it is. Okay, if you'd like to hear more jokes about this, come see me January 11th. That's right, January 11th in Waikiki, and then January 30th at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Over to Steph.
Thank you, Jimmy. All right, Savage, the Judean people were a sect from Iran originally. Can't assassinate on a live stream. They want her in person. Very sus. Buster Blue. No, you got to be in person for us to have this conversation. Really? Ha.
Okay.
Back to Jim.
So here is the stuff I think that the people at TPUSA are really worried about. They're worried about that they were doing lots of shady financial stuff. And there's an even bigger thing that Candace talked about we'll get to on Monday. But this is so damning. Watch this. This guy, Wolves and Finances, did a deep dive into their public financial statements because they're a nonprofit. They're supposed to be a charity. And here we go. Let's watch.
In the 990 forms, you can go to page 8, and each organization must list out their highest paid independent contractors. What is curious is that on the FY24 form for America's Turning Point, Tyler Boyer lists himself as an independent contractor.
Isn't that interesting? So the guy who was the COO and is involved in a lot of shady stuff he was an independent. He was getting money directly from TPUSA as if he was a company, and that he was running a company. So he's getting. Let's see how much money was it? Was it 500,000, 700? Was it $1 million? Was it more than $1 billion? Let's watch.
And he puts his personal home address. Now, I'm not doxing anyone here because it is public information on the IRS form. And I have to tell people, please do not go to Tyler Boyer's house. That is not appropriate. But I will say, if you go look up his residence on Google Maps, you will see that he lives in a massive mansion. Now, I'm not going to show his home out of respect, but you can go see it for yourself. It is mind-blowing. Where is Tyler Boyer getting all this money?
Where?
But what is even more important is if you go to the other shell company, Turning Point Action, in FY 2024, their number one independent contractor is a company called 110 LLC.
Well, just so you know, they have plenty of shell companies under the umbrella of TPUSA. And this is just one of them. And their number one contractor is 110 LLC.
In fact, this has been one of their largest contractors for the last 3 years. These are all the payments, and they total $1,456,261 over the last 3 years. That's almost $1.5 million. The description they provide is social, digital media, ad placement. Now, there is also an address for this company. So I thought, let's take a trip and go check this company out. If Turning Point is paying them $1.5 million, they must be doing something really great.
I am on location in Queen Creek, Arizona. And if you don't know, Queen Creek is a suburb of Phoenix. So I'm at the address that was listed on the 990 form. And this is strange. This is a strip mall. So I'm going to get out. I'm going to take a walk around and see if I can find the business 110 LLC. Okay. I've walked past all the suites. I've checked all the doors. The business 110 LLC, as far as I can tell, is not here. What is going on? So Turning Point is putting on their IRS form that they are sending $1.5 million to this parking lot. Well, I'm sitting here in the parking lot. The business is not here, as far as I can tell. What is going on? I mean, maybe they didn't think that anyone was going to actually drive out here and check it out. But as far as I can tell, the business is not here. So my question is, do the Turning Point donors know this is how their money is being spent? That Turning Point is writing on their IRS forms that they're sending $1.5 million to this parking lot.
I did some additional checking. Another thing that is strange is that there is no website for 110 LLC. How do you run a business without a website? That's pretty strange. And I thought, maybe they moved. Maybe there's a different location. But if you look it up on Google Maps, there is no location for 110 LLC. So there's no website, there's no location. Does this company actually exist? Well, we do have records that it is owned by someone named Jake Hoffman, who is actually the former communications director for Turning Point USA. He is now a Republican state senator in Arizona. Now, just to give you some context, Jake Hoffman is a really powerful person in Arizona, which may be why no one has talked about this before. In his financial disclosure statement, he lists that he is the owner of 110 LLC at the same address in Queen Creek. What is also curious is that on the financial disclosure form, he lists out 8 different businesses that are all operating out of that same strip mall.
Ooh.
But what is even more strange is that on the financial disclosure form, he actually lists out the suite numbers. He claims that he is operating his business out of suites 105 to 503. Excuse me? That is every suite in the strip mall. How does that make sense? Is he operating out of the grocery store? Is he operating out of Panda Express? Is he operating his business out of the pet dental clinic? Now, if you watch my channel, you can tell that I'm a conservative. But I do not have a problem calling out a Republican if I see something that looks shady. And this is all allegedly. I don't know if anything illegal is happening for sure. Maybe there is an innocent explanation for all of this.
Maybe.
I have never met Jake Hoffman, so I cannot speak to whether he's an ethical person or not. All I can speak to is what these people are writing in their financial forms. You have to admit that it looks pretty strange. It looks like Turning Point is sending $1.5 million to a parking lot to get picked up by a politician.
If you remember, Baker Tilly is the accounting firm that did the annual financial audit. So they are the ones that signed off on Turning Point. They gave it a clean audit. They said there's no problems at Turning Point. Well, Baker Tilly, did you look at the largest contract? They're supposed to do an audit procedure to make sure that it's an actual company. Well, I'm sitting here in the parking lot. I'm looking around and I don't see a company called 110 LLC. So Baker Tilly, I want to know the specific audit procedure that you did to ensure that this was a legitimate company and not an illegal payment to a politician.
In a few weeks, Turning Point is hosting their biggest event of the year, America Fest. All of your favorite content creators will be showing up in Phoenix, Arizona to give speeches. I wonder if any of these people have a problem with Turning Point sending $1.5 million to a parking lot. Are any of them going to address in their speech any of the financial concerns at Turning Point. Patrick Bet-David has one of the largest business podcasts in the world, and he has been a major contributor to AmericaFest. He is the business guy. Can he explain this to us? I would like to hear Patrick Bet-David give us some kind of business scenario which explains why Turning Point would send $1.5 million to a parking lot. Now, I've noticed a lot of comments suggesting that it is inappropriate for me to criticize the finances of Turning Point USA. Let me explain this for people who may not understand. Turning Point receives a tax subsidy. That is what a 501c3 is. You are paying more in taxes so that Turning Point is tax exempt. And in general, this is a good thing because we want nonprofits out in the world doing good things. So we give them this tax benefit. But if Turning Point is not doing good in the world, if they have problems in their financials, if their tax forms are missing, maybe they should not get tax exempt status. The rich and powerful people who run Turning Point are raising hundreds of millions of dollars and they don't have to pay tax on any of it because you watching this video are footing the bill. So every American has the right to ask questions about Turning Point's financials. If you think they look shady, you are absolutely justified in demanding answers. The other thing I mentioned in my last video was the missing $8.6 million that was transferred from Turning Point USA to America's Turning Point.
So this is another big scandal. $8.5 million went from Turning Point USA into one of their shell companies. Let's watch.
Now we have the finances so we can see how that money was spent. Just to recap, there are 4 shell companies. Turning Point USA is the main one. Then we have Turning Point Action, America's Turning Point, and Turning Point Endowment. Just as a reminder, Tyler Boyer is the only paid executive listed for America's Turning Point. Charlie Kirk is not even listed.
So America's Turning Point, Charlie Boyer, or Tyler Boyer. Okay, here we go.
So it seems strange to me that in FY24, $8.6 million mysteriously got transferred out of the main company into the shell company managed by Tyler Boyer.
Isn't that interesting? $8.6 million. Wonder if Charlie knew about that.
Look at how this money was actually spent. It went mainly to salaries.
Went to salaries.
And in the last video, I mentioned the possibility of ghost employees. This is when an organization pays people, records it as salary expense when those people do not actually work for the business.
So almost all that money, that $8.6 million, that $8.5 million that came from Charlie Kirk's organization, funneled into the one that Boyer is in charge of. They said that most of that money, almost all of that money, was spent on salaries. That's it? Really? No other expenses? And how many employees did you? Well, this guy's going to break it down for you.
So I want to drill down into this idea further. Now, I have to admit that salary information can be notoriously hard to analyze because people are constantly coming and going from an organization. For instance, you could get a bunch of people hired in the last month of the year. Those kind of timing issues can cause strange fluctuations in your expenses, but you would expect the overall trends to make sense. You would expect the numbers to be within a certain range that is realistic. For America's Turning Point in FY24, we see that for the first time, they report 24 employees. This number is reported on a calendar year, and the expenses are reported on a fiscal year ending on 6/30. So let's stagger these out. If their 990 forms are correct, and they had 0 employees in calendar year 2022, that means that the entire salary expense for FY23 was related to the first 6 months of calendar year 2023. They spent $3.7 million in 6 months on salaries. In my opinion, these numbers are a bunch of baloney. The math does not work. Let's use the most favorable assumptions for America's Turning Point and assume that this expense was spread out across the largest number of employees. If we assume that 24 employees were hired on January 1st and worked for 6 months, that means that the average annual salary of those 24 employees was around $300,000. That's a lot of money. That is every employee at America's Turning Point. It could be the secretary. I would like to know what that secretary is doing that they get a salary of $300,000. I would like to ask the other employees at the other shell companies at Turning Point, are you all making $300,000 a year? Because according to the financials, somebody is. Now, we don't know this for sure. These are just assumptions, but I am telling you that this is catching my eye as a red flag because these are astounding numbers for a nonprofit. $8.6 million mysteriously gets transferred into the shell company managed by Tyler Boyer, and it is spent on this massively inflated salary expense. Again, maybe there is some kind of innocent explanation for this, but at some point, we're going to need a lot of explanations. One of the board members for Turning Point is a guy named Tom Sedeka.
So he goes, there's more, but that's basically it. There you have it. So these are just, by the way, these are just the tip of the iceberg. And that guy is Wolves in Finance. I showed it at the top. Wolves in Finance. He's got a YouTube show, and he's got an X account. And so, that believe me, that's just the tip of the iceberg on the financial fraud that was happening around Turning Points USA. So there's lots of that stuff happening. Charlie orders a Doge-style audit of what's happening. And, well, this guy actually gets into it.
Ironically, Tom Sadeka was the president and CEO of a payroll company.
Oh, is that ironic?
This is from a press release on the NASDAQ website. From 2003 to 2020, he ran Precision Payroll of America, where he turned that company into a leader in the complex, highly regulated world of human resources and payroll processing. So let's ask the payroll guy. Tom Sadeka, do you see anything strange with these payroll numbers? Now, to understand the full picture, it's not just about where the money was going to, it's also where the money was coming from.
That's right.
When I was going through all the new financial information, I saw this chart, and immediately, I had a good idea of what was going on. This shows revenue going into Turning Point Action, and you can see a gigantic leap in revenues for FY24. It went from 10.7 million to 27.2 million.
Whoa.
That is over 150% increase in 1 year.
So that's another one of their shell companies. Big increase, 10.7 million to 27.2 million in 1 year, 150% increase.
An extraordinary achievement for a nonprofit. What is even more curious is when you put this chart side by side with Turning Point USA. Turning Point USA shows a 4% increase. Remember that Turning Point USA is the main organization with Charlie Kirk as president. Charlie Kirk works a lot less on Turning Point Action, and Tyler Boyer is the COO.
Oh.
Do you see what is happening? For some reason, in FY24, Turning Point got a ton of new donors. But these new donors went around Charlie Kirk and into the organization where Tyler Boyer was the COO.
So now are you starting to get the picture? Are you starting to get the picture? I hope so.
It's almost like they did not want Charlie Kirk to know about it. Now, we don't know who these mysterious new donors are, but it looks like someone was trying to take over MAGA and they were doing it behind Charlie Kirk's back. The timing of all of this is very important. FY24.
So that is his big theory, is that they had lost because Trump was obviously going to be the guy. Nikki Haley had to drop off. So all the establishment people that they could control were gone. And, well, let's watch.
Or represents the 12 months ending June 30th, 2024. Remember what was happening at this time. This period lines up almost exactly with the Republican primary for the 2024 presidential election. January 15th, 2024, Trump wins the Iowa caucuses with 51% of the vote. March 5th, 2024, on Super Tuesday, Trump wins 14 of 15 Republican contests. And on the following day, Nikki Haley drops out of the race. May 30th, 2024, Donald Trump was convicted of 34 felony counts in New York, and it did nothing to reduce his popularity. So in FY24, it was becoming obvious that Donald Trump was the frontrunner in the presidential race. When Nikki Haley dropped out, you had all these rich and powerful donors who no longer had any influence over the Republican Party. These donors had to come up with some new way to infiltrate MAGA. I think they went to Tyler Boyer. You also have to remember how busy Charlie Kirk was at this time. He was racing all over the country trying to get Donald Trump elected. So if someone at Turning Point was working behind his back to steal money from the company, this would have been a really easy time to do that. But the problem with stealing is you can only get away with it for so long. Along comes the FY24 financial audit. We know from the audit letter that it was concluded on June 20th, 2025, a few months before Charlie Kirk was murdered. If someone was trying to hide financial information from Charlie Kirk, they probably could have gotten away with it until June 2025. Because what happens at the end of an audit is you review all the financial information. So imagine this. A few months before Charlie Kirk's murder, he's sitting at his desk. He's looking at all the FY24 financials side by side, and he starts to notice some things that are funny. I think Charlie Kirk started asking questions, and I also believe this is what prompted the memo that he wrote 8 days before he was murdered. In the memo, he appointed a new COO for Turning Point USA and requested a Doge-style audit. Now, for legal reasons, I have to say that I do not have any evidence of a crime. We would need an investigation of the books at Turning Point to know for sure. What I am saying is that there are red flags in the financials at Turning Point and a lot of questions that need to be answered. The Attorney General of Arizona is Chris Mays. She has jurisdiction over the situation. Chris Mays is most well known for trying to arrest the Trump electors in Arizona. That case fizzled out and did not go anywhere. But I have to wonder, is Chris Mays going to look into this? I am limited in what I can research because I don't have access to Turning Point's financials, but the Attorney General has the authority to go in, look at their books, and start throwing people in jail. She is responsible for looking after the people of Arizona. Does it bother her that we have a state senator that is allegedly lying on his financial disclosure statement? Is she concerned that Turning Point is writing on their IRS form that they are sending $1.5 million to a parking lot? If she does not look into this, I would be concerned that she is in on the scam. If you watch my channel, you know that I'm a huge fan of Charlie Kirk.
So now you have the rest of the stuff. So that's going on like crazy. Shifted money around, shell corporations that this Tyler guy is running. And looks like he's trying to hide it from Charlie. But there's even bigger. There's an even bigger donor situation that Candace revealed that I didn't have time to prep for today's show. I was busy prepping. So if I'm late for the show, it's because I'm prepping for the show and I'm getting new stuff. And so that's why I was late today for the show. So I apologize. I know it upset some people. So I apologize. But anyway, but I will get to it Monday. So they're just scratching. So there's so much shade. Everything these guys do, this Blake Neff, this all the preachers surrounding the Rob McCoys, all the they're all contradicting each other about everything, including the drone. They said that they weren't allowed to have a drone, and then of course they said, "Oh yeah, we had drones, and we were looking at them in real time." So anyway, so now you know what they're really. So this is we're getting down to the. So why would the TPUSA people not be interested in finding out who the real killer is? Why are they not? Why are they accepting the FBI BS narrative, hook, line, and sinker? They have no questions. That's what I said about Megyn Kelly. You don't have any questions. You don't have any questions about why they paved over a crime site, an active crime site. You don't have any questions about how a 30-06 bullet didn't go right through. You don't have any questions about the narrative about him taking the gun apart, putting it again. It doesn't fit in the backpack, but somehow he had it in his backpack, and then he jumps and he gets changed his clothes a million times. But he puts it in the yard of the Palantir house. You don't have any questions. None of that. Then he texts exactly how he did it. If you wanted to incriminate yourself 100%, he did the exact thing you would do, and he does that. What doesn't make any sense? None of it makes sense. Let alone the Egyptian planes and the French connection to all this, let alone all that stuff. None of it. And so the fact that none of them, and none of them care that they were lying about, they contradicted themselves about the drone coverage, that they said they couldn't have drones. And then of course they said they did have drones. What? The head of the security team said they weren't allowed drones. Then of course they are saying, hey, we got the drones. So the fact that TPUSA is not suspicious of the FBI story is suspicious, 100%. And the fact that they keep getting caught gaslighting and flat out lying about taking the SD cards, lying about saying Charlie was besties with Netanyahu, lying about saying that people that he was besties with Ben Shapiro, and of course she reveals all this. She has the receipts, she has the text messages. She revealed it all. She proved them to be liars. So anybody still going along with TPUSA's story or the FBI story is a dupe almost beyond belief, or getting paid, which I can believe that. But I can't believe someone honestly looks at this case and the FBI narrative and all the lies TPUSA is caught and go, nope, I think TPUSA is telling the truth and Candace Owens is the nut. I think Kash Patel and the FBI, the same people who are gaslighting us about and lying about covering up the Epstein files, the same people who closed the investigation into the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting, yeah, okay, all right. I trust them. But Candace Owens, whoa, she's asking logical questions. That makes her crazy. The same stuff they did to me with Seth Rich. You ask obvious, logical questions that any reporter would ask, and then they slander you as hard as they can to shut you up and scare you. And it's not working with Candace because she has a huge platform, and most people don't trust Kash Patel. Well, of course they don't. They've already been shown to be liars of the highest order when they're covering up the Epstein files and lying that Epstein didn't traffic those kids to anybody except himself. So those are the people that TPUSA have no questions for. Isn't that interesting? All right, so that's enough on this. Over to stuff. Oh, by the way, if you want to hear my jokes on this, come see me in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, December 6th. I'll see you January 11th in Hawaii, Waikiki. I'll see you January 30th at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles. Over to stuff.
Jimmy, what would you say to people who say, Jimmy, you're just covering this soap opera between Candace Owens and TPUSA?
Oh, yeah. Well, what I would say to those people is, no, this is very revealing.
You should, Jimmy.
That the people at TPUSA are gaslighting you constantly, and they're being caught in lies. So that's not drama or whatever. There's drama involved, but that's not covered. This is substantive. They just got caught offering to bring her on the show and then using weird semantical wordplay to say, we never booked her. She's not a guest. We offered her. It's you guys are. So that's substance. That's substantive. And it shows them to be gaslighting liars who are ducking They're going to do a whole show concerning Candace Owens, but they don't want her on with them. So that's not only drama, that's substantive. So thanks for that question.
And then one more. Jimmy, Candace is making money off of this.
I guess she was supposed to shut her show down and not make and do it for charity. What? No, nobody else is asked to do that. No news show is. People who do news show make money doing the news. She's doing the news. Did anybody ask the Turning Point USA to return the $70 million they raised after Charlie Kirk's death? They were selling T-shirts at his funeral. Did anybody ask them to return that? No. That's such a bogus. She's making money off. Yes, she does a news show. I'm making money too. That's what we do. If I do jokes about it on stage, I'm also making money off. Yeah, that's just such a lame, weak sauce criticism. That is so. Oh, someone who's doing the job that they always do for money is also making money now? That is such a... They tried to say that when I was debunking the COVID narrative. Jimmy Dore sells T-shirts. You mean like everybody? Jimmy Dore sells T-shirts as he's debunking COVID. So that's what all he's doing it for is for money. So whenever someone doesn't like what you're saying, they try to say you're only saying it for money. I get it. That's par for the course. That's the easiest, laziest, most bullshitty criticism you could have of someone who's telling the truth. They said the same thing about me when I was asking normal questions about Seth Rich. I'm doing it for clicks. They said the same thing about when I was debunking Russiagate. They said the same thing about COVID. I was right about everything I said about COVID. They said I was doing it for... I'm sorry that this is what I do for a living now, but that's what Candace does for a living. It's what she's always done for a living. And she's not selling Charlie Kirk T-shirts. That would be trying to make money. She's not doing that. She's just doing her show. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Jimmy. All right. So Elodie the Bee says Erica Kirk will attend a town hall on December 13th, moderated by Barry Weiss. Isn't that interesting? The moderator and the date, just saying. Thank you so much for that one. And that's from Elodie. Or is that Elodie? Hope she does it remotely or live streams the live stream, Alex. Total Pussies USA. More like it. Are you with me, Psycho Kitty? Funny. Hi, Jimmy. Love you, kids. Oh, Joel Libretti. I will ask Misha for you during our next break. Erica Kirk still had Trump's man juice. Unvaccinated guy. Woo! Thank you for that one. You'd think if God was gonna miracle, he would have just stopped the bullet from killing him. You have to be industrial grade stupid to believe that, Mike. Where's that Mikey? Something Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk had in common is their position to infant circumcision, a religious blood ritual disguised as a surgical vaccine. Do I sound anti-Semitic for pointing this out? Future intact. Where are you? Hold on. Thank you. Grok confirmed to me that AI is designed to confidently give you an answer even when it doesn't know what the correct answer to your question is. Sandra, we found that out repeatedly. Have you ever had a conversation giving Grok some facts? Grok will change its mind. Thank you for... All right, let's go here. TPUSA demanding Candace be at a particular place at a particular time makes it seem like they're planning something other than an interview. That's G-Man. Unvaccinated guy. Humans can be pluralistic. They can infiltrate, imitate, take control, and play off the world's sympathy just as Netanyahu Group. Okay, just is Netanyahu Group. You think God was... Oh, I read that one. Jimmy, can you have Baron Coleman on? We've watched some of Baron's stuff. Thanks for the recommendation. Nice. That's from the judges. I believe Trump pardoned Tyler Bauer about 3 weeks ago. I wonder if it was a blanket pardon. I wonder, too.
Oh, come on. Look that up.
I'll look it up. All right, let's go here. Satan loves Zionists. That's from Fuzzy Balls. Hey, Fuzzy. Turning Point is using the money to buy fake accounts, aka bots, and booze views and fake out the public into thinking it's the newest cool thing. Thank you for that one. At TPUSA, scheduled a meeting with Candace on her husband's birthday. Most likely they knew she wouldn't be able to attend in person. Oh, thank you for that.
It's her husband's birthday.
You mentioned that.
And it's at the exact same time she does her show.
Yes. And that was Flying Ninjas TV. Thank you, Flying Ninjas TV. Let's see what I have here. Sounds like classic Wall Street move. Loot and scoot. Thank you. Do this one. Albert Max. Jimmy was awesome in Brisbane, and so was his wife. I hear she's funny too. That's the word on the street. Albert Max. That's sweet for you saying that on the chat. Thank you, moderators. They're doing such a good job moderating, modding. I call them mods. All right, let's see here. Oh, shoot. I believe Trump. I got to look up the Tyler Bauer. Let's see what this one is. Max Power. I lean towards Candace being closer to the truth than the official narrative. But there's no excuse for her not going in person to the TPUSA. She doesn't need to go in person. That's just not how it rolls right now. So she spent 3 months calling them out. They can, no problem. They can, Max Power, a couple people share your sentiments. And, you totally, I see what you're saying. We love Glenn Greenwald. And to expect Glenn to be here in person when he lives in Brazil is kind of crazy. Also, it's expeditious to do these via Zoom or StreamYard. It gets to it. And she said on her podcast, what was it on? Was it Monday? I'll do it tomorrow. She was ready to just have this conversation open. So I don't need somebody to be physically there to have this conversation. And that's just kind of like muddying the waters. Max Power. Hold on. Gong. Thank you. See the force I struck that with? Everything's a scam. Everything's a lie. It's as cold as Witchy's titty. Bitch, get on that broom and fly. Oh, you've changed it up, Vianticus. I see what you did there. You have changed it up. All right, let's go over here. Are you going to go to one of our shows, ladies and gentlemen? Look at this flyer. Do you know who does our flyers? A lot of them. A lot of these flyers. Misha. What can't she do? Well, I was just thinking, all right, I'm not going to say anything right now. Show us your feet. Okay, let's see here. How many stories have we done so far? That's what I thought. Okay, good. I'm right on track. All right, let's see what we have here. Black Friday. Let's see. Is Jimmy back from Australia? Yes, Liquid Sunshine. Jimmy is back from Australia. We had a great time. That was tons of fun. Karen Burns, you're the best. What are you up to, Karen? Always good to see you. It's always fun. It's kind of interesting. Like, I might not remember names. So if you see us somewhere, you can just say, hey, it's Milton, remember? And usually, if we've met you before, I totally remember you. It's so wild. I might not remember your name. I remember your essence. That's what I remember. But it's like, I taught high school English for over 20 years, and I made it a point to know kids' names. But after that school year, it was hard to keep their names in my head. And on occasions, I've run into some of my students. Like last year, I ran into Paula that I taught her when she was in junior high. Oh my God, what a great kid. And I met her and her husband. I think it was a year ago, Thanksgiving weekend, when we were performing at Flappers. And her husband was a fan of the show, and she introduced herself to me, and I immediately knew who she was. She's a young woman now, but I could just see her as a kid, and she had a baby recently, and so it's kind of fun running into my students, but always great seeing our fans again. And Karen, I would say have we seen each other at least 4 times? And I remember one time I think you brought your kids with you. So, I remember that. Let's see here. Jimmy is your new spirit animal. He is an animal. All right, let's see here. Frank Rizzo, nice, a good teacher. You know, I thought I was good. Sometimes they didn't think so. They used to have a thing called Rate a Teacher. Rate a Teacher. And one of my friends thought it was a porn site. No, not the one I know of. So Rate a Teacher. Kids could go in and rate you. And I remember one time I went and looked and the kid said, Ms. Amorano makes me feel dumb. Spelled D-U-M. What are you going to do on that one? You know, they also said Ms. Amorano is a failed actress. Oh, ooh, that was like, I don't know. What do you do when somebody's just like cuts you so deep? I don't care. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do a premium streamium today for our premium streamium members. I know. We're trying to do it every Friday when we're in town, and we're going to be giving some merch away today. Do you like this t-shirt, huh? Huh? Come on. All right, there we go. Hey, Trump won 420. Message received. Looking good right back at you. All right, let's see here. Okay, let me go back over to Rumble. I don't want to miss my Rumble girls. Let's see here, this one. All right, Max Power, much appreciated for that one. Jesus is the best scam ever. Tickets to heaven, send money. Marv Sons, thank you. Much appreciated. Steph missed the mark with those kids. What does that mean, miss the mark? Repo, wah, thank you so much. My chats get deleted when I use the word. Oh, yeah. So you have to say grape. All right. Oh, what was the shirt I was wearing the other day? I don't remember.
Okay.
All right. Back to Mr. Jim.
Guess what? They now all of a sudden, remember just less than a month ago, Blaze TV said they identified who the real January 5th pipe bomb planter was. And it turned out a former Capitol police officer is a forensic match for the January 6th pipe bomber, sources say. So immediately that came. So that was less than a month ago. A forensic analysis of a female former U.S. Capitol police officer's gait is a 94 to 98% match to the unique stride of a long-sought January 6th pipe bomb suspect. A source close to the congressional investigation of January 6th additionally told Blaze News evidence has emerged recently that they pointed toward law enforcement possibly being involved in the planting of the pipe. So we know that the January 6th was mainly FBI PSYOP, right? So they had hundreds and hundreds of cops and assets and FBI agents inside the crowd. They had them inside the Capitol dressed as MAGA supporters, FBI cops, before the riot ever started. They went in, took off their police uniforms, put on MAGA hats and MAGA stuff, and then, so we know this. We know that this was an FBI PSYOP, right? And they were trying to do this. They did the same thing to Bolsonaro in Brazil. They were trying to make it so Trump couldn't run for president again on his way out. They were trying to get him to commit a crime of trespassing and creating this riot on federal property so then they could exclude him from ever running for president again. It didn't work. So, by the way, here is the pipe bomber throwing signs. Here's the pipe bomber. Here's the pipe bomber walking by, and then a cop, DC cop, comes by and throws signs to them. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? There's the DC cop. That's the DC cop. So, yeah, that's straight out of the undercover manual. No matter what you disguise yourself as, blatantly wave directly at the cops as they drive by. That's your smartest move. You never see James Bond doing that. You never see a James Bond movie. You only blow cover twice. Yeah, that never happens. So after the Blaze did that reporting, suddenly 5 years later, within the month, the FBI found the real January 6th bomber. Does anybody believe this? So after the Blaze points out that it's 98% certain that it was a DC cop that did it, who, by the way, went to work for the CIA after. So this is the person. So that's the person. And she went to work for she got a cush job at the CIA, right? Isn't that where she went to work? Well, now the FBI found the real one. Yes, they found the real one. Accused DC pipe bomber appears in court on explosive charges. There you go. A Virginia man who authorities allege planted pipe bomb near the Republican and Democratic National Committee headquarters appeared in court on Friday. Brian Cole of Woodridge, Virginia, was brought before Magistrate Judge He is charged with unlawful transportation of explosive device in interstate commerce with the intent to kill, injure. Now, there's reports this guy's autistic. There's certainly reports that this guy is not the kind of guy to do this, and we'll get to that. Even his neighbors say he's got really short legs; he'd be identifiable easily. He's also charged with malicious destruction or attempt. Blah blah blah. Cole allegedly placed the bombs the night of January 5th, 2021. The discovery of the bombs diverted law enforcement from the violence at the Capitol. Oh yeah, they were diverted. That's what the problem was. That's why they didn't have enough law enforcement there. That's why the National Guard wasn't there. We've got Nancy Pelosi on video at least twice admitting that it was her fault for not having the National Guard there because Trump asked for it. Anyway, and by the way, they've additionally charged that man with becoming a woman because that's who it looks like actually did it, was a woman, but it was a man. And so now, at least he could go to any bathroom he wants. Much of the grainy surveillance footage from the day showed the alleged suspect in a hoodie. Well, let me find. Is there a picture? This is what they say. This is who they say the guy is. That's who they say the guy is.
Did he buy those fancy tennis shoes that they were all over about?
Yeah. Did he have and here's who the Blaze says it is. Says it's this woman. That's who the Blaze says it is. Does that look like that guy? I don't know. Anyway, so here we go. Much of the grainy surveillance footage from the day showed the alleged suspects in a hoodie, face mask, and gloves, making it difficult to identify them. The FBI was offering $500,000 reward for any information that could lead to, wow, $500,000. Who's paying for that, right? Investigators on the case have also said that the bombs were not detected until 15 hours after they were placed, giving the suspect time to flee the scene. Okay. During interviews with the FBI, the suspect arrested in the pipe bomb probe told investigators that he believed the 2020 election was stolen, providing perhaps the first indication of a possible motive for the bombs placed near the DNC and RNC headquarters. People briefed on the matter previously told CNN. The FBI arrested Cole, 30, at his home, where he lives with his parents. So he lives at his parents' home. He's 30 years old. On Thursday, Cole spent hours with FBI investigators and made multiple statements, the sources said. Well, at least the spooks have dropped the whole DEI hired assassin idea. Dan Bongino, deputy FBI director, told Fox News on Thursday that the FBI had interviewed the suspect at length, but didn't elaborate. The Bureau believes the man compiled bomb-making supplies for months before leaving the viable explosive devices outside of the political offices. Okay. All right. Short list of things we trust more than the FBI. TV news. Oral sex from an electric eel. Okay. So there it is. The DC pipe bomber said that he thought the 2020 election was stolen. That totally changes the narrative that conservatives' accounts were pushing yesterday. Sounds like the guy was acting in Trump's interests instead of being a critic. So he's a Trumper. That's the news. So that's the whole thing. So here's what Benny Johnson tweeted out. He said the January 6th pipe bomber terrorist was a young black guy, radical anti-Trump activists, sued Trump and ICE and DHS, extreme racial justice advocate, works at a family bail bonds company that frees criminal aliens from ICE custody. Yeah, this explains exactly why the FBI, the Department of Justice, could not find this guy for 4 years. The Biden FBI had mountains of evidence against Brian Cole, receipts, cell phone data, license plate, photos, and videos of the crime. They knew exactly who did it. But Brian's profile destroys their entire MAGA white supremacist insurrection bomber narrative in one blow. The FBI didn't fail to catch him. Leftists protected their own. This is the biggest FBI cover-up scandal in history. What a nightmare. I wouldn't go that far. So, I don't know. You tell me. But it's none of this seems real. So is what he's saying real? Is what Benny Johnson's reporting they're real? I know his parents worked with Ben Crump, who was Trayvon Martin's lawyer, famous African-American civil rights lawyer in Florida. I know that. I know that his parents do run bail bonds and they do help all the people arrested by ICE get out. It also destroys the MAGA insurrection narrative unless you want to believe both the left and MAGA were staging insurrections at the same place and time. More likely that what happened at the Capitol was FBI incited to benefit the left, and the pipe bomb was an element of this plan. Well, it was obvious the FBI did this. Anti-Trump, they wanted to make Trump illegal. They did the exact same game plan they did to Bolsonaro in Brazil. They fomented, incited a riot, and they charged him with doing that. So now he can never run for president again. They thought that would work with Trump. It didn't. January 6th pipe bomber facts. 1, black male, 30 years old. Black Lives Matter supporter. Followed Democrat influencers. Voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Mom, a black supremacist. Now, how do they know that? How do people who tweet? How do people who tweet that? Come on, that sounds like spin. But anyway, so we asked Grok if that's true. Well, this post highlights facts about the January 6th 21 pipe bomber suspect Brian Cole Jr., a 30-year-old black man from Virginia, arrested December 4th after a 4-year FBI investigation. And it's weird, in the same month that the Blaze came out with their... while the age and race align with official charges, claims of BLM support following Democrat influencers, voting for Biden and Harris, and black supremacist mother remain unverified in public records or news reports, which instead note Cole's belief in the 2020 election fraud theories. So what are we to believe? I don't know this. I know that Thomas Massey says 3 things I'll never believe about the January 5th, 6th pipe bomb story. 1, the bomber was a lone wolf. 2, the FBI was this incompetent for 4 years on the case, this consequential. And 3, perpetrators were pro-Trump. I happen to agree with him. I don't think the perpetrators were pro-Trump. I think the perpetrators were connected to law enforcement in some way. Just like the FBI, the real insiders of that riot were plants, FBI agents, FBI assets, other police people from other departments. Here's Representative Massey. He's questioning the FBI director before Kash Patel, Christopher Wray, on the pipe bomb investigation in July of 23.
Well, again, I don't want to speculate about specific individuals. I will tell you that we have done thousands of interviews, reviewed something like 40,000 video files, of which this is one, assessed 500-something tips.
Have you interviewed that
the
person?
Devices. We have conducted all logical investigative steps and interviewed all logical individuals at this point.
Then you need, it's 900 days. You need to tell us what you found, because we're finding stuff you haven't released into the public.
Yeah. So, of course, Christopher Wray is a big lying criminal, like almost all the heads of the FBI have been in history since J. Edgar Hoover. So they're all lying criminals. We're ruled by lying criminals, and that's a good look at one. I find it funny that they accuse an ex-D.C. Police Department officer that now works for the CIA, and then magically there's a second suspect within a month after there hadn't been any suspects for years. Nothing suspicious here. Wow. Guess what? CNN reports this guy is a white guy. You want to hear it? Yeah, he's a white guy.
Capitol attack. Brian Cole Jr., a 30-year-old white man from the D.C. suburbs, is charged with transporting an explosive device.
What is the point of that? Why would you lie like that? Why? Because you know most people are going to hear that lie and they'll never hear the retraction? So, yeah, he's a white guy. That's just a really big birthmark. He's a white guy. I'll play it for you again.
Capitol attack. Brian Cole Jr., a 30-year-old white man from the D.C. suburbs, is charged with transporting an explosive device in interstate commerce and with malicious destruction by means of explosion. CNN observed local and federal law enforcement outside his home in Woodbridge, Virginia this morning.
And they didn't notice that it was black people that lived there? Brian Cole, the January 6th pipe bomber, is from a family that runs bail bond services for the bail bond service for illegal immigrants. They were represented by Ben Crump. You remember Ben Crump? He represented Trayvon Martin. He's a big African-American civil rights lawyer. I'm going to go in on a limb and say he's not MAGA. So it doesn't seem like it. Here is another one. The criminal complaint against Brian Jerome Cole Jr. has just been made public. It turns out they tracked him down using his purchase record, cell phone data, and license plate info, and it still took them 5 years to locate him. Meanwhile, a bunch of January 6 defendants were rounded up in a matter of days. Why did it take almost 5 years to round this guy up?
Because they were looking for a white man?
Was that it? Were they listening to CNN? Reminder that Kamala Harris said this about Jussie Smollett, and the post is still up today. She said, Jussie Smollett is one of the kindest, most gentle human beings I know. I'm praying for. That was an attempted modern-day lynching. No one should ever fear for their life because of their sexuality or color of their skin. Okay. But anyway, here's the house that he lived in with his parents. The January 6th pipe bomber, Brian Cole, is apparently an anarchist who lives in a house that looks like that. But guess what is also being reported by his neighbors? According to the family, Brian Cole is severely autistic and didn't leave the house much. He also has uncommonly short legs, and the suspect is in the video does not. I hope they get the right guy. This is here. So listen, this is by Men's Journal. The suspect's grandmother, Loretta, told the New York Post he's almost autistic. Like, because he doesn't understand a lot of stuff, but he put together bombs. He was able to put bombs when he's borderline, as according to his grandmother, he doesn't understand a lot of stuff and he's borderline autistic. I hope he's not talking. She also alleged he's very naive. He would not hurt a fly. He's just that kind of person. I don't believe this at all. He's not a terrorist. The grandmother told the Post that Cole works for the family bail bonds company, Brian Cole Bail Bonds. She added that he also worked for DoorDash for a time. He doesn't have any ties to D.C., she added. I don't even know how they included him in this. So there you go. A guy who's reportedly borderline autistic somehow put this mastermind plan together. They couldn't find him for 5 years. It's funny, they immediately found him right after the Blaze pointed out that it was a D.C. cop who now works for the CIA who was the D.C. pipe bomber. Isn't that weird? Yeah, it is weird. Yeah. So, again, if you believe the FBI story on this, I've got a vaccine I'd like to sell you. Just like if you believe the FBI story on Tyler Robinson and the Charlie Kirk assassination. Just like if you believe the FBI story on the Epstein files, that there's no there, it's a Democrat hoax, and Epstein wasn't trafficking kids to anybody except himself. So if you believe the FBI, you are the chump of all chumps. And I believe the only people who actually say they believe it are people being paid to say they believe it. We found out, Nick Sorter found out a bunch of right-wing influencers who were being paid pittance to advocate for sugary drinks be included in food stamps. So these people, it doesn't take much to bribe these people, is what I'm saying. Anyway, so there you have your DC pipe bomber, and now we know the rest of the story. Okay, over to Steph. Hey, by the way, come see us. We'll see you December 6th, Saturday in Pottstown, Pennsylvania. We're going to see you January 11th in Waikiki. January 30th, we'll see you at Los Angeles at the Comedy Store. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Over to Steph. Should we go to Rumble?
Yeah, I'm thinking we should go to Rumble. All right, let me put that right now. Pin it. Hold on. Got to pin it. Takes a little bit.
Are we doing anything with the first half again?
Mm-hmm. It continues.
Okay.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you over there.